One, okay. Okay, so is everyone here in the Shivacation program? Oh, someone's in Ireland here. Oh, okay, great. All right. So this class is generally is called the Fascinating Concepts in Halacha. But what I'm going to do is, if I think maybe we'll. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you guys a choice of girls. I'll give you girls a choice of what the class is about. Okay, I'll tell you what is more interesting to you. You can do a class about practical, about davening, about prayer, which is really practical. You know what to keep, what to think about when you pray, and what parts, the really important parts, that type of thing. Or we can do something like like interesting concepts, and let's say we could do something interesting about things that might really not practical, but might be very interesting. But which one do you guys want? Second one? You will teach about the praying later? Yeah, we can do that also. Yeah. Okay. The truth is, since we have someone from Ireland, I guess we'll do that. The thing is that generally, if the Ireland is kind of more like we take more advanced topics, and the education is more practical concepts. But since we have someone from Ireland, I guess we'll do that. Okay. I'm going to discuss today very interesting halacha, which it's really interesting because it's not something that God forbid should ever happen, but it's good to know. As a Jew, we should know what the halachas are, what the laws are, etc. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about again, it's really totally highly unpractical, but it's just interesting. So we're going to talk today about the laws of when is a person obligated to give up their life for Judaism. I did mention this in a few classes ago, but I don't think anyone was here from that period. Maybe one person was here. Anyone? Do you remember me speaking about that? No. Oh, you do remember. Okay. So I'm going to speak a little bit about about that topic. What was your name, by the way? Jenny. Okay. Okay. So I did mention a little bit about it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about it today. There are three. Okay. So there's basically, we know the Torah tells us that v'chai bahem, that the Torah was given, the mitzvahs were given to us to live with them and not to die with them. Which means that if someone is faced with the circumstances that would mean that keeping mitzvahs would endanger his or her life, then he's not obligated to keep that particular mitzvah. For example, if someone is ill and it's on Yom Kippur and they need to eat, and the doctor says they really need to eat, it's a question, it's a matter that might affect, it might lead to something that could be life and death. So then the law is that the person would eat on Yom Kippur, right? Similarly, if someone needs to go to the emergency room on Shabbos, we go on Shabbos, right? We even, in fact, the Torah tells us that it's not the pshat. It's not that it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to break something to save a life. No, it's not breaking anything. Shabbos there's no law of Shabbos when it comes to saving a life. On the contrary, you shouldn't think, people say, it says in Shulchan Aruch, you shouldn't say, well, I'm the rabbi. I'm going to have someone like less religious than me to make the call to the ambulance. The answer is no. You're the rabbi, you make the call. The more religious, the religious person is, should be the one to break the Shabbos. Because it's not breaking. The Shabbos wasn't given when it comes to pikuach nefesh. In Hebrew, the word is pikuach nefesh. Anyone know the word nefesh? Nefesh means soul. So pikuach, saving, nefesh is soul. Similarly, but if you the Shabbat came and you didn't light the candle, so you can call to Goy to light for you. That's not a question of life or death. That's a question of lighting the Shabbos candle, right? So the answer for that is no. You're not allowed to tell a Goy to do anything on Shabbos, except for certain things in not a direct way. So no, you're not allowed to tell a Goy, please light the Shabbos candles for me. The Shabbos candle went out because of recognition of someone who wasn't good. Say it again.
The Shabbos candles, a few of them, one of them went out because of the air conditioner or the heat wasn't good, then you can ask your husband.
Oh, you mean before the Shkia, before the sunset?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's different. That's different. Oh, if that's what that you're saying before the sunset, that's different. Hold on, hold on. I wasn't sure if she was saying.
no,
I thought she was
the
saying
Shabbos
after.
came and you didn't, you was in shower and then you come to light the candle and you can.
Okay, so hold on. Oh, here's my. One second. Let's see. I see no one else uses the whiteboard because this is what I wrote yesterday.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so.
No, but can I just throw a question
Sure.
in there since you're going to explain anyway? Did she just say her husband could light after because it went out? Before, but still, once you say the bracha, by saying the bracha, that's like we when we light Shabbat candles,
Right.
we put the match out before we say the bracha because when we say the bracha, we're accepting.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay, so hold on. Okay, let's say when is Shabbos? Anyone know when is Shabbos? When is the candle lighting come out? Anyone know? Yeah. Maybe it's a Shabbos. Maybe it's a Shabbos.
8:39.
You don't have your iPhone? Okay. So let's just say, let's see. I think that it was around. I think that it's around. Let's say 7:54. I don't know if it was last week. Maybe let's say 7:50. Okay. The 7:50 p.m. is. Let's say that is the. Let's say that is. Oh, you have an iPhone? Good. Let's check it out right now.
I have an iPhone app. It's about iPhone app. It's Shabbat times.
Oh, good. App.
We do this metaphor.
Huh?
It's a metaphor.
Right. Right now, mate. Tomorrow Shabbat. You may as well know.
Okay.
What's the zip code here?
11225.
But we have 18 minutes, I know.
Right.
After the Shabbat.
7:53.
Oh, really? Oh, that sounds good. That's good. Good guess. Okay, so that's the sunset or the candle?
7:53. Shabbat begins. 8:56. Shabbat ends.
Oh, 7:53 is sunset or is the
It
candle
just
here?
says light candles at 7:50.
Oh, 7:53. Okay. Okay, so look. Okay, 7:53 we light candles, right? Now, if 7:53 light candles, that means that there's 18 minutes until the sunset begins. So we have, so that would be 7:53 plus 18. That would be 8:11, right? Okay. So 8:11 is what we call in Hebrew. We call it shkia. Shkia or sunset. Shkia means sunset. Okay. Okay. Now the sun sets at 8:11. We light the candle lighting is 18 minutes before sunset. Now during that time, it's a mitzvah for women to welcome the Shabbat with lighting candles. This is one of the mitzvahs that women have explicitly. Although I did mention in a class, I don't know if Jenny was there, but I did mention last week or something that if a man is not married, he has to light them himself. It's only that it's a special rule. Right, same thing with a woman. The man usually makes kiddush, but if the woman is single, she would make kiddush herself. Right? This is something that many people don't know because especially in yeshivas where a lot of young men are studying and they're not with their families, they're eating in the dormitory here, and they have to light Shabbos candles. Many of the boys don't realize that the mitzvah applies to them. It's not just for a woman. It's if a woman is in the family, the woman will do it. But if the man is single, then he has to do it himself. Usually, when they do it in yeshiva, they will every boy will give some change, so a little bit of money, and then they'll buy candles together, and one boy will light them for everyone. This way, because it's not a mitzvah the boy has to do. You see, with the girls, it's a mitzvah the girl has to do. From when she's 3 years old, she has to light the candle, even if her mother's lighting, even if there's plenty of light people lighting, but every girl has to do this mitzvah. Whereas boys, it has to be done in their house. If they have to, if it's being done for them, it's good. If not, they have to do it themselves. Okay, now, once you light Shabbos candles, you're welcoming the Shabbos.
You can't do something that you don't do.
No, according to the custom, even though technically you could say, I'm lighting these Shabbos candles, but I need to get in the car and go to shul before Shabbos, right? So technically, since the 18 minutes, since this period is considered, this whole period is still, from here to here, it's still not, the sun didn't set yet.
Right.
But it's called, that time is, if you're supposed to be makabel, you're supposed to greet the Shabbos before the sunset. So once you lit the Shabbos candles, you're welcoming the Shabbos. Now, technically, if you say, I'm going to have in mind, I'm only lighting the Shabbos candles, but I want to still be able to do something afterwards. So the Alter Rebbe says the custom is that women don't do that. Men could, because men don't usually light Shabbos candles. So if a man is lighting Shabbos candles and he wants to make a Tanai condition that he's going to go get on a car in the 18-minute period, a man could do that. But a woman, the Alter Rebbe says, cannot.
But I saw feminine.
They do, right. So one of the students here from the last session mentioned that some other people do have the custom to do it. And the truth is that it does depend on custom, because the Alter Rebbe and the Shulchan Aruch that we go by says not to, but it's very possible, being that it's only a question of practicality, because technically, in other words, if someone is lighting the candles and saying, I'm not welcoming the Shabbos, then technically should be able to do that, because it's not Shabbos yet, technically. But Alter Rebbe says not to, so that's still, from my custom, from my perspective, we don't do it. If you have another rabbi, another community, and they say you could, it could be that's the case.
I was always taught once the party, once we say it, once the woman says the bracha, it's it. You've accepted Shabbat, and the invitation of the bracha is to accept Shabbat.
Yeah. From my experience, I always knew that all Jews do it that way. But one of my students who used to sit over there 2 weeks ago said that she says that in her community, maybe it was Syrian, maybe it was something else, maybe they have. But the truth is that, like I said, this is a question of minhag, it's a custom. Because technically, don't forget that when you're lighting Shabbos candles, it's a very interesting thing. Shabbos starts when the sun sets, right? But we see there's a mitzvah of Tosefet Shabbos. Tosefet Shabbos means there's a mitzvah for the Jew to welcome the Shabbos a little bit earlier. Now the question is that Tosefet Shabbos, is that additional time of Shabbos, is that considered, is it really Shabbos? Is it pretend Shabbos? What exactly is that 18-minute period or whatever it is? And the answer is that it's interesting. The answer is that we consider it's technically Shabbos for you, but we say it's midrabanan. It's according to the rabbis. It's not, because technically the Shabbos is a certain time that begins when the Shabbos comes in. You have a mitzvah to welcome the Shabbos a little bit earlier. That's your mitzvah. So that gray area before the Shabbos actually starts it's rabbinically Shabbos for you. And therefore, there are some leniencies in reference to telling the goy what to do. There are some leniencies during that time. Now, in reference, so this is what I'm saying. Back to her question: if you lit the Shabbos candles here, right, and then it suddenly goes out. You see, when people learn, it's very important. Some people learn like audio with like listening. Some people learn they need to see. Some people need to hands-on practice. So I like to draw things. That's how Anyway, so if you lit the Shabbos candles and the Shabbos candles went out, you can't light them again because you welcome the Shabbos already, technically. But since it's not really Shabbos yet, it's only a midrabanan, it's only rabbinically Shabbos, because technically for everyone else it's not Shabbos yet, only for you. You could actually tell a guy, light those candles for me.
But if it's
or you tell your husband, light the candles for me.
For example, you didn't. It's not 18 minutes is over yet.
Oh no, hold on. After 8:11, if let's say at 8:20, the candles went out. That's different. Because now your husband can't light the candles for you anymore. And a guy, it's also a problem for a guy at that time.
But why it's a problem? You don't light the candles, and you do this for you. Why it's a problem?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because something we say in Hebrew. Okay, so something we say in Hebrew, she's Israeli, so tell in Hebrew, it's called shlichut. If I tell you to do something for me, it's called, I'm making you a shaliach. I'm making you my emissary. So technically, even though I'm not doing it, let's say I take a gun and say, here, go kill my neighbor, God forbid, right? Now, I'm not going to be blamed, but technically, min hashamayim, he was doing it for me. Even though we say, Ein shliach l'dvar avera, right? This guy is going to get the death penalty. But technically, I was enlisting him to do it, right? So I have a sin, right? So if I tell a person on Shabbat to violate the Shabbos for me, even though he's not Jewish, my words are empowering him as my shliach. So we have to be very careful. We can't tell someone, do me a favor and flick on that light for me, or do me a favor and so. But now, being that the non-Jew is not obligated to keeping Shabbos, so there are some leniencies if you don't tell him directly. There are some things you could do, like for example, if the non-Jew is getting his own benefit out of something, let's say for example, let's say he's in the room and it's dark in the room and he's sitting at your table. You have a friend who's not Jewish. He comes to your table on Shabbat. And you invite him to, you're allowed to invite a non-Jew for Shabbat. The Yom Tov is a little different, A holiday, you're not supposed to invite a non-Jew. But a Shabbat, you can invite a non-Jew. So let's say there's no light in the house, and he's sitting there in the dark, and he wants a light. That's different. He can turn it on for himself.
So I know family, they are Chabad, and she started to cook, and then she forgot the time, and that's the problem. Shabbat enter, and then they call to the boy, and they tell him, I need to cook now. So they just give him a clue, and we need to open the oven.
Okay. So first of all, we'll tell you, not everything that everyone does is correct.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I know for myself because a lot of times I also used to do things that were not correct. And when I studied, the more I studied, the more I realized, wow, that was I shouldn't have done what I did. So just saying it's really a challenge to know the right thing. This is why we have a mitzvah to learn Torah, to know what to do, right? Because if we didn't, so if you're not studying, there's 3 areas that the Rebbe said, 3 areas that you always have to study them, even if you know them by heart. You always should study them because you're always going to forget them. And what are they? The laws of the blessings on food, the laws of when can you talk during prayer. Like let's say you're praying, right? And suddenly you get a phone call. Can you answer the phone? Or let's say you're praying and in shul they're saying Kaddish. Can you answer a Kaddish? Can you answer Baruch Hu? Can you answer Amen to a bracha? So these are called the laws of hefsek and tefillah. When are you allowed to be mafsek? When are you allowed to make an interruption in tefillah? That's another thing. And the third thing is the laws of muktzeh, the laws of what can you touch on Shabbos.
I thought only between Shema and Esrei.
No, any time technically. There's different times in prayer when you can talk, when you can't talk. But I'm not going to get into that right now. That'll be another class. The point is that the Rebbe says these 3 things. Doesn't matter how smart you are, you're always going to forget. And I'm telling you, it happens to be every day on the 770. I'm davening, and suddenly this one's saying Kaddish, and this one's saying, reading the Torah, and I don't know what to do. And even however many times I learned that, you always forget, right? Or what blessings do you make on foods? Like, what blessing do you make on a banana, or a pineapple, or a mango, or a piece of cake, or a vegetable soup? All these things, no matter how much you study it, you always have to. We say chazara. Chazara means to review. So the laws of Shabbos. So the thing is, like, all I'm saying is that Jen, no, what's your name again? Talia. Talia said she saw a family do this and this. So I don't know who the family is, but we all make mistakes, and there are certain things that indicating to a guy to turn fire on is that's I don't know about that one. That's a whole different story. There are things you could indicate to a guy, like for example, when it comes, let's say for example, if turning lights on, if he needs the light or the air conditioner or the heater, if he's in the room, you know what I'm saying? But to go straight on to tell him, even to hint to him, I need this and this turned on, when he has no benefit out of it, especially for an oven, this is a very big problem. Maybe they did it in a time which was questionable, which was like maybe they did it right around 8/11, where they figured, okay, that we have here we take 1 minute. They don't want to do it themselves. That's another story. But definitely to do it like after, considerably after Shabbat, it's already Shabbat. That's a problem.
I bring on the Shabbos, and there's somebody in the other room who's on the computer that's bring on Shabbos.
Yeah. So the thing is, I guess in your home you should. The thing is, I guess what I definitely make sure that when my wife is getting ready to light candles, all the videos go off. Everything is very Shabbos because it's very Shabbos. Now, technically, a lot of men are not aware of this, but a man also has a mitzvah to welcome Shabbos early. It's just that he doesn't like the Shabbos candles. But technically, the man is supposed to go to shul and welcome the Shabbos early. And so to sit there on the laptop up until 8:11, that's a problem. Unless it's for a mitzvah. Like let's say for example, like with me sometimes I have in my Chabad house I forgot to bring the child to shul, and it's for the shul for a mitzvah. That's different. But if it's not for a mitzvah, there's really no reason why someone should be in that 18-minute period, violating the Shabbos. You technically should welcome the Shabbos as well. Yeah.
Why would you, once you light your Shabbat candles, let's say they go out, what's the importance of relighting them, even if you're in the time period? I mean, the idea is the separation and that light.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Okay, that's a great question.
Not me, it's not anyone. Why have anyone do it?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay.
Lights on, you have all the Shabbos candles.
Okay, so because things like this. So technically, okay, hold on. So she's correct. If you light one candle, if you have one candle lit, if all of them go out but one, technically you have the mitzvah there. The mitzvah is done. Because what's the mitzvah? The mitzvah is, it says there should be shalom bayit, there should be peace in the house, and there can't be peace in the house without in the dark. Right? And this is before electricity. There's no electricity. So and Shabbat is a very special day. So in order there should be, family harmony in the house, marital harmony, if it's going to be totally dark, the husband's going to come home and he's going to trip over a chair or over a piece of wood, and he's going to get mad at his wife, right? So therefore, we have to have marital harmony. We have to have light in the house on Friday night. Now, one candle does the trick. We have a custom to do 2 candles when we get married, or you add one for every kid.
She does just one.
Yeah, usually if a woman is single, she does 1 candle, and that's enough. When she gets married, she'll light another candle. When she has a baby, she'll light a 3rd candle, and so on and so forth. Some people, they keep lighting, right now, I have 12 candles right now in my house. Right?
If a woman divorced,
Huh?
if the woman divorced, or then she lighted, how many candles?
Oh, good question. Very good question. If a woman's divorced, so technically she continues lighting what she was lighting. So it's a very good question. Just because she now does not have a husband doesn't mean she goes back to 1 candle, because it's not really connected to people. It's kind of considered like a nether, like that's what she does. So if she lights 2 candles, she should not go back down to 1. Mm-hmm. If she wants to go back to 1, she has to ask a rav. It's called hatorah to. She has to be matter her nether. She has to actually go through the process of saying, I want to annul my vow of having added a 2nd candle.
What if she gets lighting and because of some unfortunate circumstances that she has lighted candles and the next Shabbos she lights 1 more?
Yeah, that's another thing. It says in Shulchan Aruch that if someone was negligent and did not and kind of forgot about Shabbos and didn't light the Shabbos candle, so then it's a custom that the next Shabbos she would add an extra candle forever. Now that's only if she was negligent. But if she was in a situation where she couldn't light it, let's say for example, God forbid, she was in the hospital, and she knew that it was Shabbos. She knew she was lighting the candle, but they wouldn't let her light a candle in the hospital. So that's different. But in that case, it was not her fault. She was an unus. But anyways, back to so you had a question. What was your name, by the way?
We'll never
Yes.
forget.
My question is this: okay, so I understand that it's for Shalom Bayit and that we didn't have electricity, but now we have timers and we have electricity, and if it goes up, is there something besides that? Is there something spiritual or something halakhically important for that light to be from the Shabbat?
Yes. So first of all, I want to mention a very good point, by the way. I had a friend in Miami. She comes to our shul, and she was in the hospital, and in Miami. I come from Miami. Who's your son? Shalom Brazi is your son? Oh, where is he? Where is he located?
In Miami, in Bar Harbor.
Harvard, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, so the thing is like this, that this woman who was in the hospital, I told her, turn on the hospital, just the room light before the candle lighting time, and that way you brought light into the world. You made it light. You illuminated, right? Now the thing is like this, electricity is we don't use electricity. It's kind of like questionable. What is electricity exactly? What is the nature of an electric current? So some say, well, it definitely it constitutes a flame. It's hot. It can make a fire. On the other hand, so when it comes to on Shabbos, we are strict and we say we don't turn on the light on Shabbos because it's like we're lighting a flame. Now, technically, if someone turns the light on Shabbos, is he violating the actual Shabbos, the law of Shabbos of lighting a flame on Shabbos? So it's questionable if it is or not. But the rabbis of the times of when they created electricity, they said it's very, very close to electricity, to fire, and therefore must be treated like fire.
So if you do it by mistake,
no. By mistake, that's different. First of all, if someone by mistake, that's called. Look, first of all, it happens to a lot of people. Now, if they're doing it without thinking about it, then for sure that's not considered a violation of Shabbos because they weren't even thinking about it. In order to be considered a violation of Shabbos, it has to be molested of Shabbos. It has to be a concentrated effort, a person thinking to do the malacha, to do the work. If it just happened by itself, by accident, or just without even thinking, that's for sure not considered a violation of Shabbos. Although a person should realize, why wasn't I, it's Shabbos, I should have been a little bit more thinking about Shabbos. But the thing is that if someone flipped the light on thinking that it's Sunday and actually was Shabbos, that's different. That would be, he knew he was turning the light on. That would be considered an accidental violation of Shabbos. So in times of the Holy Temple, he would probably be able to bring a sacrifice to atone for that. But in a case where he just bumped into it or wasn't even thinking, just went into the bathroom and didn't even think for a second, that for sure is not considered even an accident. That's definitely not considered a malasa.
So what is the meaning of lighting candles?
Okay, so that's what she was asking. Gogi, right? So okay, the thing is like this. So we light Shabbos candles because electricity is not good enough. Because electricity, although we do treat it like fire when it comes to the laws of Shabbos, however, the spiritual power of the flame is not there. And the lighting of Shabbos candles has a spiritual power. And it's not just a practical thing of saying Hebrew Shalei Kachel and a person should trip over a piece of wood walking into the dark house. That's the practical aspect of how it was instituted back prior to the 1850 or 1860, right? But clearly Kabbalistically there's very rich, very, very deep experience, and it's nothing that electric current could make up for. So therefore, it says lighting Shabbos candles is school law. It has spiritual power. It says being careful lighting Shabbos candles. A person will merit to have children who will have very special souls who will illuminate the world like a candle. So we're definitely not gonna say I'll just what do we need Shalom Bayit now because we have electricity, right? Keep in mind also, it's very interesting that you see the Shalom Bayit is a very, very difficult thing to attain. Everyone should have it, right? And we need all the help we can get. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just it's not just a practical thing of having light in the house Friday night. It's a spiritual thing. And without that spiritual boost, we're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So we need that lighting Shabbos candles is a spiritual aid for Shalom Bayit in a way much deeper than what we understand. Just a practical sense of having light in the house. In any case,
why people light candle after Shabbat? Like Motzei Shabbat, they light candle.
No question. Okay, so it's a custom. It is a custom that on Motzei Shabbat we also have candles because it says just like we honor the Shabbat when it comes in, so we honor Shabbat when it goes out. So we have a meal on Friday night, bringing the Shabbat in. So too we have a Malka. We escort the king going out, and we light the candle again. We light candles again. Now lighting candles again is not an obligation. Of course, by the Havdalah, we make a blessing on the candles.
Are you talking about something separate from Havdalah?
Yeah, she's talking about Havdalah is one thing. Besides that, there's a custom in many households, that the man has his chance to light candles, and he lights 2 candles, or at least 1 or even 2, at the table for a Malama Malka. And that's a custom. It doesn't say anywhere you have to do it, but it's a custom where people have, and that's just a custom. It's not an obligation at all. Anyways, and again, not even everyone does it either. Okay, so this was this. So okay.
So if the candle is shut down, like not working after 5.
So let's get that. So that's okay. Now here's the question. If you lit your candles and they got blown out, right? So here's the question. If you lit them and they went out after it was already Shabbat, so then it's not your problem. You lit them. You lit the candles. Now technically they're supposed to be lit with enough time that while you're eating with your family, it should be lit there. So if you're gonna, so in other words, if you're going to be lighting the Shabbat candles right at sunset, or right before 7:53, right, 18 minutes before, and you're going to eat at 9 o'clock. So technically, your candles should be lit at least until you make kiddush and eat hamotzi, at least until 9:30 or something, right? If it goes out before that time, so you still fulfilled your obligation of lighting the candles. I mean, just they're just for technical reasons it went out.
But you should be more careful that
right. So you should be careful. You should definitely not. If you have it's a very windy day, you should make sure make sure the kids don't open the door and wind. Don't put the candles in a place where the wind would put it out. So you should realize for next time to put it in a better place. But definitely if you lit the candles and they were lit and it's already Shabbos, for sure you fulfilled your obligation. Now in reference to if it's let's say in the 18-minute period. So Goldie was asking, well, why do you have to tell someone to relight them if I have one that's still lit? The answer is, yeah, technically, if you have one that's still lit, see all the rest of the ones you light. If you're, let's say you're married and you have two kids. Let's say you're lighting 4 candles. So technically, as long as one stays lit, that's the obligation, and the other 3 are just a custom. But it's nicer to have, it's more. We say it's a hidden mitzvah. The mitzvah is nicer. It's more Shabbos-like. It's more nicer when you have all the candles that are lit. So if it's within the 18-minute period, and you can indicate to someone or your husband, it's not Shabbos for them yet, they can do it for you, then good.
Oh, you can't do this alone again?
No, you can't do it alone, because once you lit the candles, once you said the bracha, it's for you at Shabbos.
He takes on the Shabbos and he can't.
Right. That's one of the reasons. By the way, I mentioned this in the class here as well. That one of the reasons why we have the custom that when we light the candles, we close our eyes, and then we say the bracha. Right. Then why do we close our eyes? So the reason is because once you light those candles, usually you make the bracha before you do a mitzvah. Like for example, let's say I put on my tefillin, right? So when I put on my tefillin, right before I tie the knot, right before I put the tefillin on, I make the bracha. Or let's say, for example,
Before you eat or before you drink.
Yeah, before you drink, right? But the bracha is always before the mitzvah, always. There's only 2 cases. Yes, there's only 2 cases that we do the bracha after. One of them, interestingly, for example, at a bris, right? At a bris, the moil is going to do the bris right before he does the circumcision. He makes the bracha. The only case where we don't do it after is, for example, in a conversion. Because in a conversion, the person can't usually. Let's say a person's converting, and they're going to the mikvah for the completion of the conversion, or if it's a woman, she's going to the mikvah. It's a man after the circumcision, she's going to the mikvah. So when he comes out of the mikvah, he'll be Jewish. But we usually make the bracha before the mitzvah, before he goes to the mikvah. But before he goes to the mikvah, he's not Jewish yet. How can he say Hashem Kedusha Mitzvah? How can he say, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, that you have commanded us"? We haven't commanded you anything yet. You're not Jewish, right? So in that case, he makes the bracha right after he gets out of the water.
Also, in the Shabbos candles, which you have to light.
Okay. The Shabbos candles, same idea. Why? The problem is if you say the bracha before you light the Shabbos candles, the minute you say that bracha, you're accepting the Shabbos. So once you say the bracha, you can't light anymore. Shabbos, right? So what are you going to do? So this is why in Shulchan Aruch it says we say, I'm making the bracha not for the lighting, I'm making the bracha for the enjoying of the light. So I'm going to light the candles. It's not Shabbos yet. I'm lighting the candles. It's not yet Shabbos. Right? Oh, we spoke about this, right? The class,
so you can say the bracha after 5-10 minutes?
No, not 5-10 minutes. I'm going to light it, and then I'm going to close my eyes. And now, when I open my eyes, I will be enjoying the light. So I'm going to make the bracha while my eyes are closed. I'm going to welcome the Shabbos in, right? However we do it, right? And then I'm going to say the bracha before I look at the candles. Before I look at them, and that way the bracha with the bracha I'm accepting the Shabbos, but I'm not violating the Shabbos by lighting because I lit before. Understand? So 5 minutes. Now there is a thing that you want to, it's a very, very special time. It says that when a woman lights Shabbos candles, a girl, it says it's a very special time for her to pray because it's at that time when her eyes are closed. It's a very, very special segula. She has to ask for whatever she wants, to ask Hashem whatever she wants to ask for. So at that time, sometimes people sit there for a few minutes and meditate before they make the bracha, right? But after, in other words, so if you want to take 5 minutes, okay, 5 minutes is fine, but it shouldn't, it can't be 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? After, you can light the candles, close your eyes, think about what you want to think about, ask Hashem what you want to ask, and then make the bracha, and then open your eyes.
So first of all, you ask for your wishes, and then you say the bracha?
Yeah.
Why about 18 minutes? Why not 19 minutes? Why not 20 minutes?
Okay, good question. So it says in the Gemara that the average person can walk in one day 40 mil. 40 mil is roughly somewhere in between, I don't know, somewhere like a kilometer, a mile. So it says that the shear, the shear in Hebrew means an amount. The amount of time that the Chazal, the rabbi said, we should welcome the Shabbos in advance, is the amount of time it takes the average person to walk 1 mil, 1 kilometer. So 1 kilometer, or actually more than a kilometer, between a kilometer, let's say a mile. So the average person, if I, for example, I walk a mile, I can usually walk a mile within 20 minutes. Or 20, My kid's like 22 minutes, right? 1 mile. So, but that's not a meal. A meal in Hebrew is a little bit less than that. It's a little bit less than that. So we say, so the Chazal, so the rabbi said that 18 minutes is the shear, because if you take the whole day, you take 12 hours, and you divide by 40, you're going to get 18 minutes. Okay, you want to do the math? If you have an iPhone, you do the math. Okay. Anyways, my class is like ask the rabbi, stump the rabbi. Just ask it. Anyway, no, okay. Okay, so today I want to talk about today in the last 10 minutes an interesting thing, which is important that it's good to know this. Okay. So one of the differences between Judaism today and various branches of Judaism that branched off of Judaism, I'm sure you all know that the Bible is the world's greatest bestseller, right? And all other religions basically emanated from Judaism. It all came from Abraham, from Moses, right? And there's reasons to believe that even the Eastern religions, like Confucianism or whatever, even those came from Judaism, because we see striking. There are a lot of like really eerie things about, for example, Confucius, that it was right around, he was said to have lived right around the time of King Solomon. And at that time, it says in the Tanakh that all of the Gentiles in the world were coming to the temple to bask in the radiance and the wisdom of Solomon and the temple and godliness. And there are many scholars who believe that a lot of these monotheistic philosophical religions came from Judaism as well. Surely the big religions of the world came from Judaism. And one of the things that we realize that is unique about a Jew, about our belief and understanding of the Torah. And this is something that most Goyim just don't understand. It doesn't matter how much you explain it to them.
They know that everybody starts in the same place.
They know that, right? But here's the thing: you see, for example, I speak to many people, the Christians or whatever, and they know the Torah backwards and forwards. They know the scripture, right? They know it in English, of course. But what they don't understand is that it's not the scripture that is our religion. It's not the scripture. The scripture is just a handbook. It's just like a blueprint. The Torah is what we call the oral Torah. And that's something that everyone else misses the boat. All these other groups that came off of Judaism, like the Sadducees and the Karaites and the original Christians and Mohammed and his crazies, they're all missing one point. The point is that the Torah is the word of Hashem, the word of God, right? But not every person can go look at the Torah and say, well, I think it says this. I understand it this way. You ever hear that you have these like Christian evangelists and they'll tell you a verse in Isaiah, and it's like the word of God, right? And with fire and brimstone, and they understand it. But the thing is that in Judaism we say it's not we don't have the authority. We don't have the authority to interpret what the word of God is. We have a tradition that was handed down from generation to generation, from Moses to Yeshua to the Skadim to the Ashkenaz to Vilna. We have it's called a Masoret, a tradition. The tradition is called the oral tradition, the Torah Shebal Peh. Right? We have there's the Torah.
What they teach in the school, and all the kids know, and then they grow like this.
Okay, the Torah Shebal Peh is the oral tradition. We had a class in it. Leona, the previous we had a class. I'll give you an introduction of another class. But the idea is that the Torah Shebal Peh means the Talmud, the teachings from the sages from generation to generation. The Kabbalah, Chassidus, all of those things, which you're not going to find if you open the 5 books of Moses, it's all hidden there. But the Torah itself, the written Torah is cryptic. It has to be translated, understood, because it's very cryptic. It's kind of like a code. You got to break the code, and breaking the code is Torah Shebal Peh. So all the other religions, they don't break the code. They just interpret what they think it says with their human minds, and it's totally wrong. And I'll give you an example.
But don't rabbis have human minds? I mean, they do.
Yeah, but rabbis don't interpret. Rabbis don't interpret. Rabbis are teachers. All I can do is teach. I can't interpret.
Opinions that have formulated what we're doing. Rabbis' opinions have formulated what we're doing. Like, for example, chickens don't, they don't lactate, and it was rabbinical.
Okay. Okay, so hold on. Okay, good question. Good question. What do you say?
just today.
Okay, so hold on a second. When I say interpret, I mean to say, in other words, when I'm interpreting, the example, for example, of the chicken, of the chickens don't lactate, right? So the rabbis the interpretations the rabbis gave were handed down from generation to generation, straight from Moses. That's called the oral tradition. So the interpretation that rabbis had, now rabbis today don't have that authority to do that because we are not in tune spiritually as they were up until people like Rabbi Akiva and Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Those rabbis were like prophets, and they were conduits to this tradition that was. They didn't make it up either. It came back. I'll give you an example. And people always say, how did you get? For example, it says in the Torah, and thou shalt, tie these words upon your arm, or your hand, your arm, and they shall be as a box or numbers between your eyes, right? So the Christians say, how did you get from that to put on black boxes with the black things and straps? That's all rabbinical. That was made up by rabbis. That's what they say, right? Well, it came from the Talmud or whatever. Well, I'll tell you something interesting. They've excavated that from the times of Moses they were putting on tefillin.
Where they find this?
They found out whatever the kings, times of the kings, King David and before, right? Way before the Talmud, 1,000 years before the Talmud, they found tefillin of Yecheskel, the Navi Yecheskel, times of the first temple, times of the first temple. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't like who came up with washing your hands. It doesn't say in the Torah you have to wash your hands. This came from the times of King Solomon and before. Moses, it says in the times of Moses there was a concept of in other words, the black straps and the boxes, that's not a rabbinical thing. The rabbis the interpretation was a tradition. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not that people made it up.
No, not good. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's 5 opinions for things.
So hold on.
If they're just coming to teach me this set thing that says do it like this, then why are there 5 opinions?
Okay, so first of all, the opinions are also talking opinions. We have, for example, a famous argument Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam about how to do the tefillin, right? That's why Lubavitch was put on 2 pairs of tefillin, right? So they discovered, interesting, that archaeological findings of both types of tefillin from over 2,000 years before Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam were even born. They have from the times of. So what I'm trying to say is that both these opinions, they were not just. These rabbis are just conduits. They're not making things up. We're talking about ancient things, and we have these arguments of Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai. It's their argument, their opinions themselves are these are Kabbalistic things. They're not it's not just like, well, this one felt this way, this one felt this way. No, not at all. This is almost like prophecy, prophetic. The more you study Talmud, the more you realize that this is not just human things. Humans didn't just make this up. It's not just a human mind thing. This is a godly thing. This is a Torah Sheba'al Peh. Now, back to what I was saying. So there was a sect of Jews that were called the Sadducees. It's Stukim, and the Stukim felt they were one of the first ones came along, and they were like the early Christianity kind of came out of them. And nowadays they have what's called the Karaites, the Samaritans. Huh?
The Karaites came from them.
Karaites, Karaites. They have Karaites today in Egypt. Karaites were a sect of people who did not accept the oral tradition, similar to Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism. Same idea. The only difference is like Reform and Conservative Judaism, basically, whoever espoused that belief ended up leaving Judaism altogether, right? Because anyone who was that just went and finished. But the Karaites continued, and the Sadducees had a thing where they would interpret. They said, we're not going to accept the oral tradition because who made it up? We don't know who made it up. We will interpret the way we want to make it up. So they would say.
Then that's an interpretation in and of itself because they have a set of beliefs. I mean, they're in Israel.
Right.
I've seen it. They have like this synagogue. The Egyptians they have, and they say we don't do it. But I'm like, so does everyone just do whatever they want?
Right.
They all, but as a group, do.
No, I agree with you. I see. It's very true. Because let me tell you something. I have people in Miami that I talk to, like certain people like these like Christian who have they don't want to accept Rabbi Akiva's opinion. They're going to take directly the word from God, right? But you know what? In the end of the day, it's their interpretation. It's not the word of God. It's this guy. I have a friend. His name is John. It's John's interpretation. It's not the word of God because whatever you understand is your interpretation. So I take the interpretation of the oral tradition, which is way beyond my intellect, my understanding. It's faith. I accept what it says. Whereas these other guys, no, they don't want to accept human beings. So they're also human beings. Don't they understand that they're just as human as they are? So in other words, So John will understand it his way. He's also a human being. You understand? But anyway, so one of the differences of the Sadducees and the Jews, where Judaism, where we come from, all of us, is that Sadducees said that for example, if someone has to save a life on Shabbos, to break the law on Shabbos, you can't break the law. Because it doesn't say anywhere in the written Torah to break the Shabbos to save a life. It doesn't say that. So they're literalists, right?
They're kind of reforms.
No, not even. They were like religious people. They had their own views.
Conservative.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
The chief rabbi still considers them all halakhically Jewish.
Oh no, hold on. The crime is different, whole different story. The reason why we have question if the crime are Jewish is because since for all the generations, the Karaites, they were not keeping the laws. So the question is, do they know who is a Jew or not? Like, for example, in other words, what does it mean to be a Jew? So if someone came from a community that was not keeping Judaism for many generations, so let's say, for example, people decided, well, we're going to decide that anyone who comes from New York is Jewish. Because they eat bagels, so they're Jewish, right? So if we had a system like that for many generations, so now someone comes along and says, "Oh, how do we know if that's what your rabbi said? How do we know who's Jewish over here?" Right? That's the problem with the Karaites. Not because we question if people are not religious that are Jewish.
The chief rabbi in Israel said we consider them halakhically.
What
Okay.
are carrots?
But
Carrots.
are they,
Okay.
I mean,
Hold on.
they hold also to
Can you
after
say
the time
Hebrew?
of Ezra.
Okay, hold on.
the
So,
time
all right.
Ezra switched.
Okay, let me hold on. So you're a little bit more advanced. I'm gonna back up for a second and explain to the rest of everyone else. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you. So let me. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. For the next 1 minute, 2 minutes, I'm gonna finish off this thought. Then I'm gonna talk to you about the carrots. Okay, now. So the Sadducees, they said, well, it says in the Torah not to use fire on Shabbat. Not to use fire. So they would sit in the house in the dark on Shabbat. And they ate cold food because if food is on the fire, you can't use fire on Shabbat. Now the rabbis said the tradition is that when it says not to use fire on Shabbat, it says not to light fire on Shabbat. It doesn't mean you can't use fire that already existed. So the Sadducees rejected that. Also the Sadducees they said if someone, God forbid, gets sick and needs to break the Shabbat to save a life, they said there's no reason, you cannot break the Shabbat. Because it doesn't say in the written Torah you're allowed to break the Shabbat to save a life. That's the oral Torah. The oral Torah says it's a tradition from Moses and Mount Sinai, orally, that to save a life we break the Shabbos. But the Sadducees didn't accept that. So their religion was a religion of cruelty, a religion of very rigid and literal and cruel. Whereas they were Jewish, yeah, they had different type of belief. They don't exist anymore. Christianity came from them. Because what JC was basically a Sadducee. So JC said, I don't accept what the person who founded Christianity, right? He was a Sadducee. He said, I don't accept what the oral tradition is. I will tell you my interpretation, and that's the word of God, right? So the Christians believe in the written Torah, but they believe in the interpretation from some Yukul, right? Whereas we believe in the interpretation of the oral tradition of Torah Shabbat Peh. So just to say that, back to what I was saying, that when it comes to saving a life, we break the Shabbos in order to save the life because of what it says in the oral tradition. Okay, now that was that. Now I just want to finish up one other thing. We're talking about the Karaites. Now, God willing, I'll give a class on this when we have more time. Now we'll finish for today. We have lunchtime now. But there's a question of what does it mean to be a Jew? What does it mean to be a Jew? What is Judaism? Is it a race? Is it a religion? Like let's say I was born as a Catholic, Protestant, whatever. I was born whatever it is. I came from Africa, right? And I say I want to be Jewish. I say I'm Jewish. I believe in Judaism. I believe in the Torah. So is that person Jewish? The answer is no, because Judaism is not a faith. It's a race. But on the other hand, if it's a race, can a person say, can I convert? Can they do a conversion? I mean, if it's a race, can I convert to become Japanese? No. So if Judaism is a race, so then you can't convert. But we have conversions. So the answer is it's a little bit of both. The idea of a Jew is all it is it's a spiritual state of being obligated in keeping 613 commandments, and it's a neshama, it's a soul thing. But the thing is that, so how do I know who's Jewish? How do I know that I'm Jewish? So the thing is like this: the Torah tells us that it goes if your mother's Jewish, your parents, your mother, or if you accepted the mitzvahs upon yourself in a kosher way, in a halachic way. Now, what if someone comes and says, "Well, my mother's Jewish," but how do we know the mother's Jewish, right? So the thing is, again, so we have a certain way of understanding this. It comes to the Torah tells us how do we go about understanding if someone's Jewish or not. Now, I'm going to talk about it in a whole different lesson, but as far as the Karaites go, whenever we have a situation where someone's coming from a faraway place, let's say someone says, "I come from Iceland." I said, "Well, were your parents involved in a shul? Can you show me your mother was Jewish?" And he says, "Well, she says she's Jewish, but we didn't have a shul. We didn't keep any mitzvahs." With any Jews in your community? No, there were no Jews in Iceland. I don't know if there are, but let's say there weren't, right? So here we have a problem. How do we know if he's Jewish or not, right? So this is I'll give a class about this. It's called Bir Yadis. How do we know if someone's Jewish or not? Now, in the case of the Karaites, it's kind of like that because the Karaites were a community which was separated from the entire Jewish community. So whenever we have these types of community, for example, the Falashas, for example, the Ethiopians. Anytime we have, or the Bnei Yisrael, the Bnei Menashe in India, right? Anytime we have these groups of people who are not necessarily keeping Judaism according to the oral tradition, they're doing their own thing, but they say they're Jewish. So how do we know if they're Jewish or not? And God willing, I'll give you a class on this to know because it's not so simple. But the Karaites are one thing, the Ethiopians are another thing, the Bnei Menashe are another thing. People coming from Boston is another thing. Everything is his own thing, and I have to give a class. It's going to take me an hour to talk about it, so we'll do it another time. In the meantime, now we have lunch, yeah?
Can you say what you give or what is terrorist?
Oh, Karaim. Karaim. Karaim is a sect of people. There's two basic types of Karaim. There's some from Iraq and some those from Mitzrayim, from Egypt.
And the mother Jewish?
Well, it's a little questionable if they're Jewish or not, because another problem is if they are. There's another thing is if they are Jewish, then they're all considered mamzerim. Technically, because the thing is that don't forget that's one of the problems of the Ethiopians, because if the halacha is, it says in the Torah that if a man marries a woman, she's married to him. But let's say they want to get divorced, he has to give her a get. Sefer Kritut, he has to give her a get. Now let's say he never gave her a get and she married someone else. Mm-hmm. Her kids are called mamzerim because her kids are forever. They're called mamzerim. Now, so the problem is now that if you have a situation like the Karaim, or you have a situation like the Ethiopians, and they say they're Jewish and they're getting married, but there's no gittin. They're not doing get because they're not accepting the halacha, or they're not doing exactly like it says in the Torah. So now the problem is, well, 1 second, if they're getting married and the marriages don't always last, there are also divorces. And for thousands of years, not just for a few generations, for many and many generations. So there are second and third marriages. And there are children of these marriages. And it's all one big community. So we have a serious problem if other Jews can marry them because they might almost be all considered mamzerim. No. Okay, so.
Do the job of a rabbi not to make life more difficult, respectfully, but to also understand that those situations occur. God forbid, like Reb Moshe would say, okay, he didn't say that reform, Moshe Feinstein wouldn't say that a reform marriage, God forbid, like reform people say, oh, you guys don't think our marriage is kosher because it's not that he doesn't think that their marriage is kosher. He thinks beyond that. He thinks, right. God forbid, you're going to not get a get, so right. I'm going to look for a way because mamzer, they say 10 years, but they take that to say forever and forever. I mean, it's a huge thing. 10 generations. They can't marry other people, they have to marry the mamzers, they have to marry moms, which I have an issue with. Why? Like, my friend who's converting, she says to me, a mamzer can only marry mamzer and me. And why is that? Okay, hold on. You're really jumping. Are you part of your education, by the way? Huh? Yeah. Okay, you're ready to go. Okay, so first of all, you really know, I'm going to have to give a class, we'll have to try to give a class. Sorry. That's okay. But you're right, what you're saying is very true, that sometimes the way that Moshe Feinstein looks at reform and conservative marriages, it's only for their benefit. Because if you think about it, and I especially know from living in Miami, that back in the 50s and 60s, many people got married with rabbis, but they never got divorced with rabbis. Because when they were getting married, everything was all good. And my bubby wants a rav, a real chuppah and kedushin. My zaydi or my father, my parents. Okay, let's get married with the rabbi. But they had a chuppah, right? But when it came to getting divorced, no one wants to make the parents happy. They're just, let's get out of here, let's forget about it. They go to the judge. So they're not getting a get. So the idea is that Rav Moshe Feinstein was a great rabbi of our times,
who saw this happening and realized that it's not to their benefit to get married with rabbis. And therefore he felt that, and the thing about conservative and reform rabbis is that what he did was really phenomenal, because by saying that the reform conservative is totally not, it's nothing, it's not a marriage at all, because there were other Orthodox rabbis who felt that there was maybe what we call a chash. There is a possibility of it being a marriage. So that means if it's a possibly a marriage, then their kids will be possibly mamzedim. You understand? So Rav Moshe said, no, it's not possible. It's nothing. There's no marriage. And by doing that, he Rav Moshe Feinstein, it was a very great rabbi in Manhattan who passed away in the 70s, and he was a very great rabbi. But the idea is that not all the time. It's another thing that he said about the Ethiopians. That his rule with the Ethiopians was that they're not Jewish, and that's to their benefit. Because if they are Jewish, then we have problems. And if they're not Jewish, there's no problems. Let them convert, they'll be Jewish. Anyways, this is a whole different topic. I hope I didn't overload the systems over here. I think some of our students are not. I'll give God willing give a class on these topics, because it is good to know. It's good to know as a Jew, we should know what does it mean to be a Jew. Why is one person Jewish and someone's not Jewish? And it's not such a big deal to become Jewish, but we have to know how to do that in the right way. Not to, it shouldn't be fake. It shouldn't be a fake thing, because it is a very serious matter. It's a very spiritual matter. Okay, so now is lunch, right? Yeah.
I learned things. Is there videos online that we could watch?
Well, no, I think it's like this. I learned. They have you girls gonna come to all the classes. I think.
I have a question.
Sure. Okay, I don't have the book here with me, but I have it at home. If you want to call me later, I can do it. Okay,
Okay, you want to keep it?
So,
Can I call you or?
okay, yeah, you have my number?
Yeah, let me write it down.
Like me, Sunday's mother, she got married. She I don't know if it was a rabbi, and she formed, and then essentially not a hooker, of course, she didn't know that, and then they got unmarried.
Yeah.
She's not a mom's, but she's a daughter.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Oh, why would you think that?
I forgot.
What do you
Because
think?
it wasn't a halacha. She didn't get a get.
Well, she didn't get a get, and then she didn't get a get.
Actually, it was annulment because he was like 13 years older than her.
Oh, so they said they annulled the marriage.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit questionable how they did it, but now you're saying she was born from those parents before it was annulled.
What? Oh, she was what?
Tell me the story again.
Her mother, she married, and then she didn't know her, but she was reformed, and she doesn't remember she had a rabbi doing it, but she had a marriage certificate done. So then 2 years later, she committed annulment with her husband.
Right. So when was the other kid born? After.
2 years before she got annulment. 2 years before she got annulment.
No problem.
I don't know.
There's no problem at all. Why should there be a problem?
I don't know. It's good. My mind is getting mixed up.
No. Well, first of all,
I didn't say it's not.
let me
She wouldn't do
tell
that
you.
to me.
No, that's okay. First of all, it's you don't do it. Let me tell you.
It wasn't a kosher marriage.
That doesn't mean that's not a mom's. Just think if